How long into the business did you hit your first 40K month?
My 4th or 5th month.
How much did you sell in 2025?
I sold over 700 last year. But I had like 13 guys inside of my office while I was dialing.
Literally
like,
inside of his office.
Tiny little office, and we're all dialing on top of each other. But I'm like, all right, if I produce at an extremely high level and I'm extremely aggressive and I'm really closing a lot of deals, they're only gonna be able to just witness it and be able to do it themselves. I was so intentional, and my energy just absorbed every ounce in that room.
But everybody sees like Musa Elite now. They see the $180,000 record month. You were number 4 in the biggest IMO in the entire country out of over 30,000 agents. Like, what would you say is the #1 toughest thing when it goes from just being you to now leading people?
The biggest difference would be
Elite mindset, elite results. We've got a special guest with us today. Thank you for joining us for another Playbook podcast. We've got the #1 producer in the entire Playbook in the house today, coming off an absolute freaking record month. Now, the hat even says, all right, where did that nickname come from?
Elite.
Where did it come from?
Well, the elite mindset, elite results. Elite just came from training Muay Thai. I was training at a Ronnie Elite kickboxing gym. Before Ronnie Elite, we were Satan Gym, and all of us were, your first name and then the ending of the gym. So I was Musa Satan. That was everybody was Satan. And once we changed to a different gym, we went Ronnie Elite. I was the first person to put Musa Elite, and it was just the trend from there. People just started calling me Elite.
When did you start Muay Thai?
When I was 10 years old. I started Taekwondo and Muay Thai when I was 10.
Up until when were you doing that?
Well, I was doing it consistently, not like no on and off, no distractions, probably from 10 to 16 or 17.
How much of that do you think carried into your sales career, that discipline, that mindset, that willingness to win? How much of that carried into today?
I mean, everything, all the discipline, all the hard work, all the passion that I have, it came from that. Rami, my trainer, I looked at him like a second father to me. He was tough on us. He made sure that we were on the right track to making sure that we grew up to be, good men to society in general. And I learned a lot of my discipline, my hard work, and all of that from him and from training.
What I see most is like the people that succeed in sales at a high level, they were either athletes, or my favorite ones are either wrestlers or boxers. Like, for some reason, the mindset and the discipline that comes from people that specifically either, boxed, Muay Thai, or wrestling is like different than any other type of athlete. Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, one thing that always stuck with me when I was younger was Rami used to always tell me when I was 10 years old, 11 years old, if you want to accomplish something that people don't have, you have to do things that people don't do. So if you wanted to be the best fighter, you wanted to be the most skilled, you needed to wake up before the average fighter. You needed to train more. You needed to diet better. You needed to run more miles so your cardio was better. It was just everything. You had to differentiate yourself from the average person.
And do you feel like because of how physical Muay Thai and boxing is that you build like a different type of discipline because you directly feel the pain?
Yeah, just in general, when you accomplish things that are hard, you're always going to be able to accomplish things that are easier at a much easier level. It's just inevitable. So when you put yourself in the fire when you're younger, when little obstacles come into your way when you're older, you've been through a lot harder before. So it's nothing new to you.
Absolutely. Well, now you're one of the first 10 guys that stepped into the Playbook. Luckily, one of the best, one that I'm proud of to say that I had a helping hand in training you. I remember like the early days in the first office, you were doing like 2 different things and still trying to make this work. But everybody sees like Musa Elite now. They see the $180,000 record month. You were number 4 in the biggest IMO in the entire country out of over 30,000 agents, which speaks volume. But what's different about this year is you're doing it with a team. It's not just you anymore like it was last year, where you had to sell. How much did you sell in 2025?
So when the March Madness
total,
bracket?
the entire year?
I sold over 700 last year.
So $700,000 in 2025. and March Madness champ last year and again this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it just shows you that a lot of people, they make that excuse that you can't do it with a team. You're so busy. It's hard to produce at a high level, and you never let that be an excuse for you. And a lot of people this year, when you were competing, and we asked you because we're like, hey, like, we know you're busy. Are you sure you want to compete? And I asked you twice. It's like, are you sure you want to compete? What was the thought process? Why did you go as hard as you did this year, knowing as busy as you are now?
It all comes down to the mindset. I'm a big believer, I say a lot, elite mindset, elite results. And that all derived from not having an elite mindset and elite result. It was from, having a bad perspective on things, falling down and not wanting to get back up, feeling sorry for yourself, having doubt in your mind, not being confident in your abilities. It all derived from that. Once I was able to make that flip within my mindset, everything changed. So, every time that I catch myself or other people saying that they can't do something, something clicks in my brain like, okay, if they can't do it, you definitely can do it. And it just all comes back to just having that mindset again. As soon as somebody told me that I couldn't do something, or as soon as somebody, didn't believe in my capabilities as much as I believed that they should have, it just lit a fire under me, and I wanted to just prove to myself first and to everybody that I was able to do it.
Yeah, it makes you want to prove people wrong, turn heads.
Yeah, mostly it's I'm a firm believer. It's I don't look at the environment outside. I'm a firm believer that comparison's the thief of joy. So I'm not comparing myself to anybody. I'm just looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm trying to get better than the man I was yesterday every single day.
Would you say a lot of that accountability aspect came from starting boxing and Muay Thai at an early age?
Of course. I was actually one of the first kids in the class. I was actually the first kid in the class to join the adult class.
Mm-hmm.
So I was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old. I was training with 20, 25, 30-year-olds. So, and then there was a rule in the gym as well, and I have maybe one or two friends that could vouch for me on this.
What was the rule?
They said, after you hit 100 pounds, they'll start to hit you like a man. So imagine you're 100 pounds.
Getting swung at
and
by
you're getting
20,
swung
30
at
year
by a
dudes.
30-year-old. When you're 20, 21 years old, and life swings something at you, it really is not that deep.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. You've seen it already.
What do you think holds most sales rep back from getting to that elite, elite performance level?
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that holds people back, but it's just number one thing is gonna always be perspective. In this business, it's not a get-rich-quick scheme, but it's a get-rich guaranteed if you stay consistent and you stay persistent. Nothing worth it in life is going to come easy. So you have to understand that and, and go about your life understanding that and know that when life does bring you down or when there's obstacles in your way, that's just life testing you and seeing what you're going to do with that test.
Mm-hmm. Do you think most agents, they overcomplicate everything and that's why they're not able to get to that elite level?
I feel like life in general is easy to overcomplicate, but at the end of the day, everybody just needs to be very self-reflective on themselves. So, that's a big reason why I'm in the position that I'm in now. I'm very self-reflective. Every single thing that happens throughout my life, whether it's even a conversation that I have with somebody, I take a step back and I'm like, what could I have said better? How did that person react? How did I make that person feel? How did I feel saying it? Just paying attention to the detail throughout your everyday life and getting 1% better is always going to gradually get you to that point that you want to be eventually.
What are a few things that you feel like you had to change to go from that average level to, for example, how long into the business did you hit your first 40K month?
My 4th or 5th month.
What had to change between month 2 and 3 to get to that level in month 4 and 5?
It's just belief. I told you this before, confidence comes after action is put. So after I was putting in the time, I was putting in the work, I was putting in the dials, I was in the training sessions, I was asking the questions, understanding that, I wasn't tying any of my success to the result. A lot of new agents, they do that in the beginning. They tie their progress to the result. No, you can be getting better every day and still not get the result that you want to see. But it's the people that stay consistent through that storm and they weather the storm and they end up, accomplishing what they want to accomplish because again, you stack up those wins every day, it adds up to just one big win at the end.
So you think most agents are just missing consistency?
They're missing consistency and they're missing accountability. That's the biggest thing. It's accountability. To be consistent or to be better at anything, you need to know where you need to be better at. And the only way that you can know where you can improve on is if you're very self-reflective and accountable.
Would you say like a lot of that has to come from being coachable in the beginning and
Of course.
simple stuff like using an activity tracker and, tracking your flaws and perfecting it?
Yes, everything. And, activity tracker, having somebody that has results, somebody that you want to be like in the business. Like for you, for example, when I joined the business, I had no sales experience. All I knew was Ronnie Salem. I knew Ronnie Salem knew how to sell at a very high level. I knew Ronnie Salem knew how to recruit at a high level. I knew Ronnie Salem had the right mindset to be successful in the business. So I looked at Ronnie Salem and I was like, okay, what does Ronnie Salem do good? And I need to replicate it. And that's exactly what I did. I wasn't the type of person that came to a million different questions.
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting there and I was observing and I was applying. And those are the best people. They see somebody that they want to be like, or they see traits in somebody that they want to be like. They learn it, they analyze it, and they apply it to their everyday life.
And that's what most people miss, and I think that way too. So it's like when I see somebody that moves a certain way that I would like to be in their position, I start watching and I start studying. I'm like, I wonder why he just did what he did, or I wonder why he told that guy specifically how he told him it, So it's like when you start learning this stuff as an entrepreneur, everything is done a certain way for a reason. And that's like the beauty of it. It's like communication and human skills. And that's what all of this is, life, sales, all of that, right? Yeah. But a lot of people, they don't have that coachability or the accountability, and that's what they're missing. Like for me, I just would sit back and watch. Like, okay, this guy closes like this, I'm taking notes. Right. You don't even have to ask questions. If you just sit there and listen and observe, you'll get all of the information that you need. Now, you've sold at a high level. Now you're leading a team. What does Elite Capital finish at in May?
We've 630,000.
So we're going for at minimum $1 million month.
Yes.
Now the best part about being someone that's successful in business is also being able to replicate yourself and the people that you're bringing into the business. Yeah. What is your highest producer averaging out on a monthly basis?
How much is he putting in his bank?
How much is he writing every single month?
He's writing at least 80K.
Which is amazing, right?
Yeah, that's one of my other guys over 100K.
And that's Tay. So that it just shows you, right, that obviously when you're doing stuff, in a way that it's duplicatable, that means you have something that's stable.
Of course.
What had to change from being the guy that's producing at a high level to now leading a team that has people producing at a high level as well?
The thing for me is for me specifically, I was always put in those leadership roles since I was a kid. I was always training the classes. I was even in school. I was just had those leader characteristics. My cousins used to look at me like an older brother. So when I came into sales, leading a team, it just came natural to me specifically. So I'm the type of person where I want to lead by example as best as I can, because that's how I would want my mentor to be. I wouldn't want my mentor to show up late and then tell me to show up early. I wouldn't want my mentor to leave early and then show up late. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't want that as a mentor for myself. So I hold myself to that accountability. I need to show up and be that 101% elite, so I can show my guys that no matter what happens, no matter what you go through in your life, no matter how many downs you've had in your life, no matter what has gone through, ups, downs, that you can overcome it. Mm-hmm. If you just have the right perspective, you have grit, and you just trust in God.
Now, during that transition, obviously now when you're focusing on yourself and you're selling at a high level, it's a different ballgame because there's not that much pressure. What do you say is the biggest thing that you struggled with transitioning from selling at a high level to now leading a team and trying to figure out how to replicate it?
The biggest transition, right now, I'm a little bit different. I haven't been able to transition out of it yet. I've probably the only manager in the Playbook now that's been producing for over 2 years.
Yeah.
While simultaneously trying to build the team and trying to post content, trying to hit the markets. So I'm now trying to learn how to step aside from producing and trying to put more into my guys. But at the same time, I still have that little thought in the back of my head, like, that's just an excuse. You know, just because you have more guys or just because you have less time, make more time. You know, that's just that little voice in the back of my head, and that's just that person that I am. You know, I'm just always trying to get to that next level.
Through all of these people that now have come into your team, about how many reps do you guys have within Elite Capital now?
40, 42.
40. And you're still on a weekly leaderboard that showed 10 recruits came in specifically from you the same month you had your record month. Most people use that excuse that they can't sell and recruit at the same time.
No.
How important is time management at the level that you're at right now?
Time management is everything in this business. And at the end of the day, if you set a goal for yourself and you genuinely want to accomplish it, you can accomplish anything. You know, if I told you a task right now, I said you're going to lose your family tomorrow if you don't do it, you're going to do that task no matter what. So nothing's impossible at the end of the day. But when it comes to money, when you don't have money and then you start to make money, it's human nature to start to get complacent. So you understanding that it's human nature that you're going to get complacent. You need to try harder and try to the best of your ability to do things that allows you to not get into that complacency. So no matter how much money I've made, me continually not attaching to the result and continually trying to better myself, what allows me to continue to reach different levels.
Did you pick that up from somewhere?
Again, you know, like in the beginning, I didn't have this mindset. You know, of course I had the discipline, I had the training, you know, I've gone through a lot of hard things. I've gone over a lot of hard things, but it's just years and years of that getting better 1%, you know, and I'm still not even close to a finished product. And then when people tell me when I say that, people look at me like I'm crazy, but like nowhere close to where I want to be.
And when I look at it, it's like that mindset that you have that you just described, only 1%, maybe even less have that mindset in business. And I've seen it happen all the times. You know, I have guys that make as high as $300,000 a month, and I have guys that make $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
You know, they all do the same thing.
Yeah.
But what different is that, like you said, the complacency and the willingness to be better.
Yeah.
Keyword, be better, not make more.
Yes.
Because most people, they start thinking like, oh, let me make more money, let me do this, let me do that. Like, money's not the solution to growing as an entrepreneur. If that's your driving base, like, you can only go so far. Like, you might get to maybe like $500,000 a year or something. After that, it's like if the mission is not bigger than it is, you're not hitting seven figures, you're not getting past that. Now, the biggest thing that I want to touch on is the transition from, you know, producing at a high level to now leading a team, and kind of go over like some of the biggest learning lessons that you had to learn within that transition, so those people that are watching can avoid that. Like, what would you say is the number one toughest thing when it goes from just being you to now leading people? Is it communication? Is it time management?
I would say the biggest difference would be standards. The biggest difference is standards. So what I would say to that is, even though you have an extremely high standard and you hold yourself to the highest level, you know, waking up early, your diet, what you drink, what you eat, how you exercise, whatever it may be. No matter how high your standard is, or no matter how much you try to help somebody, you can bring a horse to the water, but you can't force that horse to drink it. And no matter how high of a level that I produce, or no matter how much of a leader that I can be, if that person does not want it for themselves, you can't want it more than them. And that's a big lesson that I'm starting to learn now.
Did you ever want it more for somebody than they want it for themselves?
All the time. Yeah. All the time. And again, you have to take your heart out of it sometimes, because you can't care more for them and their future than they do for themselves. But
it's impossible. At
the end of the day, what allows me to keep going, what allows me to continue to help that person, although they may not even be helping themselves, is still that accountability that I hold myself to. You know, all right, you hold yourself to the standard, show up for that person, be that person that unlocks that level that they probably didn't even see in themselves. And that's another trait that I see in myself throughout this time in the business. It's like I always want to bring more people to the next level consistently.
How did you get over the fact of, because the thing that guys like me and you struggle with, like this was one of my biggest struggles in the beginning, is I used to push people to the limit that they didn't want, and they would want to quit. Because I would push so hard, because it's not that I wanted you to do more, I just wanted you to get your max potential, you know, because that's like how I am. I want to go till there's nothing left in the tank. You know, every single day when I clock in, my goal is to give it all. I leave everything on the table by the time I clock out. But most people aren't like that. And the guys that are like me and you, we struggle with that because it's hard to be around those people that don't want it as bad as you. How did you get over that?
It's not, I don't believe that's something that you even get over. You know, especially somebody that you're a genuine leader and you genuinely have a purpose of wanting best for people. You know, you're not looking at somebody like a price tag or how much you're going to make or how you're going to benefit. You know, you're a genuinely natural leader. You're always going to have that feeling of, wow, I could have done more.
Missed potential.
Or what did I do that he couldn't see, or why didn't he be this way? But at the end of the day, bro, as long as you're showing up for that person every single day, you can't, I started to learn that you can't allow those people to hold you down, because the moment that you let those people drag you down, you're not going to show up for other people that need you to be there for them at 100%. So I'm going to quote the trainer, Ronnie. He used to say, like, if it's too hot in the kitchen, get the hell out. Just get the hell out of the kitchen. I'll be in my office, and when somebody starts complaining, I'm like, yo, if it's too hot, get out. Straight up. Because if I can't depend on the person right beside me, not just in insurance, just in general, if I can't depend on that person, I wouldn't want that person to be next to me. Because this world is about energy. You want always positive and good energy. You always want people to be on the same perspective and trajectory as you. If you're here and somebody's here, they're only going to try to bring you there.
How important is energy when you're running a team?
Everything is energy. Everything. Even when I'm on the phones, when I was during the tournament, I felt like I absorbed all the energy in my office. Like, I thought I'm going to go into this March Madness tournament in front of I have 40 plus, but I had like 13 guys inside of my office while I was dialing.
Literally
like,
inside of his office.
Tiny little office, and we're all dialing on top of each other. But I'm like, all right, if I produce at an extremely high level and I'm extremely aggressive and I'm really closing a lot of deals, they're only going to be able to just witness it and be able to do it themselves. But I was so aggressive and I was so intentional, and my energy just absorbed every ounce in that room, where I would be closing the deal and I'll see 3 of my guys staring at me. And then I got to the point where it's like, you need to stop witnessing and you need to start doing.
And in return, what happened is I was looking at the leaderboard. Tommy Liz is one of your newer guys that I like a lot. Just very genuine, bro. I don't know what to say. Like, very genuine. You know, when you see him, like no homo, but like you want to give him a hug. You know, he's a very genuine guy. You know. And then I see him and like Jason Halil, like back to back 40K months. In return, you put up your biggest month and they put up their biggest month.
And believe it or not, they underperformed.
But it shows you, though, that they had their first big month when they saw you do what you did. And people don't understand, as a leader, like, there's a saying, right? The good energy flows down, the bad energy goes up. Because you should only be giving out good messages. And you see how important that is, because when they don't have that, imagine, like, nobody wants to be in an environment that's bad, right? What do you do as a leader that, you know, leading the team that you are now? Like, what are some ways to keep that energy flowing? Because most people, they struggle with that because they think they need like a competition every single day, or they need this or that. You don't.
The energy always flows through the leader. Always. You know, if I always compare, you know, teams and these sort of things to war, you know, and like back in the day. You know, if we were on a line and you were looking at the enemy and you had all your soldiers and you went up as the leader, no, they're going to be confident in that leader stepping up, because you're their leader. You're supposed to be the one that's fearless, that's confident, that's strong, that knows the ins and the outs. So imagine if that leader were to run away. What would that do to the army?
They're done.
They would all run away with the leader. So the way that I look at it is if I'm always going forward, I'm always in attack mode, it's always going to bring my army to attack with me. And the people that aren't attacking, those are the people that I wouldn't want in my army to begin with.
And you know what I noticed about some of the best leaders is they're always in offense mode.
Yeah.
Like so many people, they're not moving the ball, you know? They're just in defense. I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to struggle. I don't want to, you know, it's so good right now. I don't want to go backwards. Like, but if you're not thinking, how are we going to advance? Like, how are you going to move the ball?
No, you can't.
You're going to continue to be stagnant. You're going to be at the place that you are. But having the mindset that you have and the mindset that you started with from 10 years old is what's allowed you to do what you're doing now. Now, as we wrap this up, what is one thing that you would leave the viewers with going back on the journey and selling, you know, $1 million+ of insurance and putting up the numbers that you are now, even at the level that your team is at?
The one thing that I would say, the one biggest piece of advice that I would say, I would be able to say a lot of pieces of advice, but if I had to say one thing, I would say just have the perseverance. You need to have perseverance in life. And what perseverance means is you never, ever, ever give up. You know, I've been put in situations where I never believed that I would be in the position that I'm in now. You know, where you look right, you look left, you look up, you look down, you don't have anybody. Nobody was going to come to save you. And I was able to overcome it. And if I was able to overcome the things that I've gone through in my life, I'm sure that anybody and everybody could accomplish anything that they put their minds to. So, again, perseverance is going to be everything. Anything that goes in your way, you have to understand that it's just going to be a test. And how you overcome that test is going to make or break you and your future.
You heard it here first. Elite mindset, elite results. Let's go.